Okay, let's get started. My name is Skip Larrington, Maria Sherman.
Hi.
We are chemistry teachers, and I have no idea who a lot of you are, so I don't know whether I have your child or she does. So I'm expecting most of you are hers as opposed to mine, because she teaches more sections than I do. This is not formal, all right, so if you need to get up and go somewhere else, you need to get up to the bathroom, just go. We're not formal. I do want to go and let you know what we're doing, kind of to avoid a million questions and kind of get us all starting out on the same page. I kind of want to tell you what a flipped classroom is all about and what mastery learning is all about and why we decided to do this. Right? 2 years ago, we were informed in about April, about 6 months before the start of our school year, that we were going to block scheduling. Right? And that put the fear of God in our hearts, okay? Or at least in mine. Because that's not the way I teach. All right. So I used to teach. We had 47-minute class periods, and my lectures lasted 46.5 minutes. Right. And the kids could time their watches by me. Right. When I finished my lecture, I would say, "Guys, you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow." The bell would ring. And they'd go, "How does he do that?" You know. And every day I was just kind of looking at my watch. I put my hand up to do something like this, and I was looking at the time, so they didn't notice I was doing it. But that was the way I taught. And I realized that if we went to block scheduling, my lectures were now going to be 95 minutes long. And that just wasn't going to fly. Okay? If you look at how we teach a lot of our classes now, if you think of how math class was taught 2 years ago, they taught a concept, they gave them a little bit of time to practice, and then they gave them homework. Then they gave them, the following day they came in, they might have gone over the homework, and then they did that same process again. All right? So now when you're under block scheduling, what do? They give you one subject, they give you a little bit of time to practice, and oops, we have a 90-minute class now. We're going to go into subject 2. We give you a little bit more time to practice, and then you go home. And you have 2 nights worth of homework to do on concept 1 and concept 2. Okay? So, you have Thursday class. As a student, what do? Oh, I'm not going to see that teacher until next Monday. Guess what? I haven't touched the homework until Sunday night. Right? And of course, what do I remember? 0. Okay? So, I'm not prepared for class on Monday, and now the teacher says, well, you're 2 days behind. Right, in effect. So that was a problem. What happens if you miss Thursday's class? You see the teacher Tuesday. When do you see the teacher next? The following Monday. You don't see him for 6 days. Right, so if you miss a day of school, if it's not a Wednesday, if it's a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday, you don't see your teacher for 6 days. All right, your continuity is destroyed under a block schedule. We knew that. That concerned us. Okay, that's just the way block scheduling works. So we said we have to find a solution. So we proposed 2 of them. One of them is called the flipped classroom, and one of them is called mastery learning. A lot of schools will go to a flipped classroom first, and they'll add mastery learning a couple of years later. We didn't want to do that, and I'll tell you why in a second. So what's a flipped classroom? The flipped classroom is we don't lecture in class anymore. We're done. Okay? All of our lectures are online. So the students can watch the lectures online. They can watch them on YouTube. We have a flash drive, we have a hard drive, which is somewhere around here, which has everything on it. So it has the unit on it, it has all the podcasts on it, all the videos on it of our lectures, it has all the worksheets, it has all the answer keys, and it actually has videos that go along with every answer key. The answer key tells you what the answer is. But you look at it and say, oh, I got it wrong. And I say, okay, so now what? How do I do it right? Well, there are videos that actually go through every single problem and say, this is how you work the problem. Okay, so that's why we did that as well. Okay. So, the direct instruction is done at home. They watch all the lectures and the podcasts at home. Some students listen once. Some students have to listen to it 2 or 3 times to figure it out. Okay? What happened in class? Well, think about how you do a lecture. You lecture. You say something one way. You look around the class. You get it. You get it. You have no clue. So what do? You do it again. Sorry. You do it again. And you do it 3 times, and 4 times, and 5 times, and the poor person over here is sound asleep by then. All right? And you finally got it. He still has no clue. All right? So that's a problem. How often do you do it? All right? So bottom line is, we do it. We make the podcast shorter. We say it a few times, and then we stop. If you didn't get it, rewind the podcast. If you get confused, you have to go to the bathroom. What happens when you go to the bathroom in class? Excuse me, Mr. Larrington, may I go to the bathroom? Go ahead. They leave. They come back 5 minutes later. They have no clue what you covered. You're in the middle of a podcast, you pause it. Okay? So that's the beauty of the flipped classroom. Lectures are shorter. Students can rewind the instructor. Oh, isn't that cool? Students can pause the instructor. They can go to dinner. They can answer their cell phone. All right? All those kinds of things are helpful for when they're watching lectures. All right? We certainly prefer them watching lectures at home. It frees up class time. So what do they do in class? Well, we flipped everything. So what they would have done at home, they now do in class. What happens when you're stuck on homework in math class, and it's 10 o'clock at night, and it's Sunday night, and you're going to see your teacher first thing Monday morning? What do? Do you call a friend? No. Do you call your teacher? Not a prayer. Okay? You just throw your hands up and give up. Okay? So now that's reversed. So now when the student's in class and they don't get it, hand goes up. Or they turn to the person next to them and say, hey, can you help me? All right? So we work specifically on collaboration. We work where my job, I don't sit up here and twiddle my thumbs. I never sit down, at least not up here. Right? I am constantly moving around the room. I will sit down and help this student. I'll sit down and help that student. All right? I'll help different students all through class. Okay? And they are allowed to work together on everything except the tests. Okay? So they complete their homework in class. They can get help. There's much more individual attention, personal attention from me. Right? And I can look at a student and I can go and tailor the instructions specifically to them. It's called differentiated learning, so it's something that we try to do. Right? The beauty of this, the real beauty of this is collaboration. Right? This is a college-bound class. Everyone in this class should be going to college. Guess what you have to learn? You have to learn to work with other people. When you're stuck on something, what do? You find a friend. You find someone who's better at it than you are. And you go and say, help, I need help. There is no competition in this class. Think about most classes, what has to happen. You have this bell curve, some A's, some B's, some C's. I don't have to worry about that. I tell you, day one, if you finish 19 units in this class, you have an A, period, end of story. You may all work together all year to achieve that goal. There's no competition. There's a cool game out called Pandemic, which is everybody against the board. And I play it all the time with my wife. Because I'm not competing with her. I'm working with her against the game. That's what this is all about. These kids work together to solve problems. And that's what I like to see is the collaboration. Right? There is no competition in my class. Right? But there are some problems with this. Some students say, I can't learn watching a video. Right? Yeah, they can. They adjust. They're good. Some don't have the maturity to actually do it. They procrastinate. Right? They say, well, I'm not going to do it. Oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll get to it next week. I'll get to it next month. That's a problem. Okay? Think of a normal class. What happens? In a flipped environment, if you bomb the first 9 weeks, do you ever catch up? Can you ever fix that grade? If you have an F for the first 9 weeks, can you ever have an A for the year? No, it's not possible. That's a problem with the flipped classroom. We're putting something out there that's new, and the kids say, I don't know how to learn in this environment. They struggle the first 9 weeks. By the second 9 weeks, they're fine. They really struggle the first 9 weeks, and then they bomb for the year. All right? And that's what we try and avoid. All right? We saw that as a problem. So we introduced mastery learning as well. So what's mastery learning? Mastery learning says you repeat something over and over and over and over again until you get it. Right? If you're in the pre-AP program, you have to have an 85 on a test to pass. If you're in the college-bound program, you have to have an 80 to pass. Right? All the grades of the tests. You have to pass 19 units. You have to finish 19 units. To be able to take the test, you have to do the labs, you have to do the worksheets. The bottom line is your grades are the 19 tests. Okay? Eventually the students compensate. They start to work. They start to learn. Right? And I tell my students this. I had a student last year who absolutely hated chemistry. She walked in the first day of school and said, this is crazy. First 2 weeks, first 3 weeks, first month, this is nuts. She was horrible. Right? Did not want to learn. Did not want to work with me at all. And I remember one day she came in, and I don't know what lit a fire under her, but she walked in with a notebook. And she walked in and she said, Larrington, I need you. I went over and sat down with her. She said, I need you for 20 minutes. And she opened her notebook. And there were little yellow sticky notes. And she went to the first one. She said, I understand everything up to here, and I can't do that problem. So I worked through that problem. She said, okay, got it. Next sticky note. Right? At the end of that day, she said, cool, I get it all, I'm taking my test. She took the test and passed it without any trouble. And from that day forward, that's what she did. She finished my class in April. You can finish my class early. You don't need to wait until May. So she finished my class. She was one of the first people in my class to finish. She finished in April. Okay. Students become self-advocates. Is this an important skill for college? I think so. They work together. They form teams. Again, collaboration, college skill, something that to me is very important. So how are they graded? If they finish 19 units by May 30th, which is the end of the school year, they have an A. If they only pass 18 units, they have a B. To pass, they need an 85 or an 80, depending upon which class they're in. All right? If they pass all 19 units with an 80 in my class, they have an A for the year. I know they don't need 90s to pass. All right? If they pass 19 units, it's how much material they've covered. If they pass it, then they have an A. 18 units a B, 17 units a C, 16 units a D, and if they don't pass 16 units, they don't pass the class. Right? It's that simple. Now, each one of you has something in front of you, well, most of you have something in front of you, that looks like this, pacing guide. Right? And essentially tells you what our pacing is. Now, we've taught this long enough to know what we think, let me pass a couple back there, what we think a reasonable pace is. Now, what happens if a student does not finish? Let's see, I'm looking at line 4. What happens if they don't finish Unit 4 by September 12th?
I don't have one of those.
Sorry. What happens if they don't finish Unit 4 by September 12th? Let's say they finished by September 17th. They have a D in the class. So as of September 17th, they have a D in the class. And they say, oh my gosh, when I get to the end of the first 9 weeks, I'm going to have a D. Not necessarily. Because if they now finish Unit 5 by the 24th, they now have an A. We do not average grades. It's however many units you finish by the end of the year. And your grade at each 9 weeks is determined by what pace are you currently on. Based on the pace that you're currently on, we are predicting where you will be at the end of the year. But if you pick up your pace later in the year, you do better. We were talking earlier about a student who plays golf right now. Right? He's probably going to get behind at the beginning. He's stressed. He's got too much to do. He's too busy. He's leaving school all the time to go and be in golf matches. That's okay. So he falls behind. Golf's over in a month. So what does he do in October? Picks his pace back up. He catches up. He can get ahead. All right, what happens if you have a student who has soccer in the spring? They look ahead. They say, in the spring I've got soccer. I've got baseball. Right? Whatever it happens to be. I've got to get ahead so that when I hit the spring, I don't fall behind. I have a little bit of extra time to be able to do what I need to do. That's what the pacing guide's all about. So the beauty of a student, if a student falls behind at the beginning, even if they're failing, they can still get an A for the year. Because it all depends on what they finish by the end of the year. By the same token, they can have an A at the beginning of the year, and if they get up to about March and they say, I'm done, I'm not doing any more, their grade drops. Right? So again, nothing's average. Right? Last slide, I think. What did we learn from last year's experiences? Well, the first thing is, there's a lack of mastery. Our students don't remember anything. Okay? Now, that's not their fault. That's how we've taught them. We have taught them, we've given them a little bit, and we've said, here's what you have to remember. Remember it for this test on Friday. And as a Friday afternoon, they flush it, and then they go on to the next concept. We have done that to them. That is our fault. So then we get up to SOL time, and what do? We try and review everything in 2 weeks of the whole year and try and cram it back into their heads. And then they take the SOL test. And we expect them to do well. Yeah, right. That's not fair. That's what we're doing to them. Okay? So, we gave all of our students a test last Tuesday, Wednesday. Right? I had one student pass the math test the first time. Nobody passed the science test the first time. To give you some ideas of some answers on the math test. Round 7,492 to the thousands place. 7,000, right? 0.3287 was one of the answers. Where did that come from? I have no clue. Okay? But just to give you a sense, I don't even know who the student was. I don't care who the student was. The problem is that we as teachers aren't doing our jobs. They're not remembering stuff. Okay? We have to fix that. So for us, all of our tests are cumulative. Every test that we give them, test 5 is going to have stuff on it from test 1, 2, 3, and 4. Test 12 is going to have stuff on it from 1 through 11. Okay? And it's all there, and our test banks are thousands of questions, so they're not going to see the same question multiple times. So when we say they take the same test over and over, it doesn't look at all the same. The questions are very, very different every time. Students learn to remember. They say, I have to change my mode of operation. I have to make sure that I remember stuff. I can't just flush it every 2 weeks. I have to remember it. Which makes when they come to SOLs, they have to remember stuff. Why is that important? Our math SOLs, for those of you who don't know, our math SOLs this past year, were horrible. Like 50-something% pass rate. Normally we're 98, 99%. We're in the 50% pass rate. Even with expedited retakes, we're only in the high 60s. All right? We still have hundreds of students who haven't passed the SOL from last year. All right? We get new SOLs this year. They had new types of SOLs. The SOLs used to be, you had a 1 in 4 chance of getting a question right. Even if you were guessing, you had a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. Now you get about a 1 in 25 chance of getting it right. Guessing won't help you. Okay, you have to know the material, and that's what we found in our math SOL test. So we want to make sure that our students learn this stuff, they master it, and they remember it the entire year. Okay. That's it. I'm done.